Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Mom. Who's got the podium? Okay, so you're listening. That's good. I do. I already have a heckler. Oh my gosh. I'm flattered. What do you say, Josh? We ready to go? Cool. Hey, everybody. My name is not Tom Hogan. It is shocking. I know we look so similar. Tom has a family emergency that he's tending to, so he won't be able to join us today, which means you have me. My name is Kristen Rohder. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi. I'm on the Milwaukie Poetry Series committee and the board with Tom, so that's why you see me sometimes here in and out. We are very, very excited. It's always exciting to get to this point in the series because it's the last reading of our 19th season, which means in September we will be starting with the Milwaukie Poetry Series 20th season of bringing poetry to Milwaukie and the surrounding areas. So yay for that. To bring this fine season to a close, we are happy to welcome Susan Dingle, who is here. Hey. And Susan brought along a couple of her books, so make sure to check them out after we're done with the reading. Nothing, as Tom always says, nothing gets done without a group of people by your side to help get it done. So we have a special thanks to the Letting Library, who we've had a great partnership with for, I would say, several years, if not the last 20. The Clackamas County Arts Alliance, who always comes and supports us, which is really kind. And Willamette Falls Media, who has partnered with us to bring poetry to YouTube so people can actually actively stream our readings online in real time, which is great. So thank you, Josh, for all your help. Josh is back there. So, yes, what's up? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. We're just rolling today, everybody, so that's fine. Do you want to make the announcement now? Okay, great. Oh, thank you. We have a representative from the Clackamas County Arts Alliance here. I'll let her make her announcement.
Great. Sorry, I've got like my shades on. I had a little walk in the sun. I'm Ariella Sophie. I work for the Clackamas Arts Alliance, which supports amazing programs like the Milwaukie Poetry Series, visual artists, performing artists, literary arts, and all the organizations that we try to boost and lift. I just wanted to let everyone here know we are partnering with Toolbox Gallery, which is just down the road. It's across the street from the Episcopal Church, St. John the Baptist, I believe. If you go to the open mic series, it's often there. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. St. John the Evangelist. You are right. Yes, thank you very much. The Episcopal Church. Across the street from that, you'll find the Toolbox Gallery, which is a new art gallery located here in Milwaukie. I just wanted to invite folks, and anyone listening online is welcome, of course, as well. And I have a poster that'll be over to the side. This Friday, we're having a really casual gathering for anyone who feels comfortable identifying themselves as a creative. You could be a knitter, you could be a poet, you could just be an enthusiast. It's a free event open for all to come, just meet other creative folks. It's going from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Again, it's just a few blocks away, and it should be a really sweet, lovely time and an opportunity to just connect with other people in a way that we might not have time for here today. Thank you.
Sure. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, yeah, it was over. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you so much for reminding us to celebrate those things, because I think when you're working to put on events and do all the things that comes with getting everybody together, we forget to celebrate those wins that are actually quite large for a group of volunteers who are just trying to make sure that people have access to artistic experiences like this. So thanks so much, Melody, for bringing that up. So just silence your telephones, please and thank you. Bathrooms are across the hall if you need to go to the bathroom. How this is going to go is I'm going to introduce Susan, and then she's going to read. And I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at her bio, but she is in boxing, and which I found really fascinating. She's a boxing poet, so we really have to like her poetry. No, I'm just kidding. I did that joke with her before, so I think it's going to be a great reading. So I'm looking forward to introducing Susan, and then we'll do a quick Q&A at the end, and then just celebrate. And before we start, as Tom Hogan always says, and I really love, it's a great night to be together and enjoy poetry. So. The Milwaukie Poetry Series is delighted to bring our 19th season to a close with a reading by Susan Dingle. Susan was selected by the County Clark Arts Commission to serve as Clark County Poet Laureate. I believe it's a current serving right now from 2024 to 2027. Congratulations. She earned a master's degree in creative writing from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Her poetry has been published in several periodicals, and she is the author of 2 books, In Pilgrim Drag, published by Finishing Line Press, and Parting Gifts, published by Local Gems. Without further ado, Susan Dingle.
Well, first of all, thank you, Kristen, for that introduction. It is really so beautiful to be here. What a lovely place this is. And I'm not from this area, so I wasn't aware of all the arts activities that you have going on here. It's really amazing. I would like to say that as far as the boxing is concerned, I know that's like probably in the forefront of your mind at the moment. I do not box with human beings. I only box with a bag or with a trainer who's wearing those things, you know. But the reason I took up boxing, it's actually, I recommend it for writers, because boxing is all about focus, intentionality, and power, right? So it's awesome, but that's not why we're here. I just want to appreciate and acknowledge all that Tom does to pull this all together, and he has to deal with poets whose bios change unexpectedly, and then so I gotta say, I did get a master's in creative writing in 1971, but it kind of needed to be updated, so I got an MFA last year at Pacific. So I'm coming in on that stream. Okay. He told me I had all kinds of time, and a lot of times in poetry readings, I just kind of like wing it. But after knowing that there's all this time, and this is the venue, and it's a whole thing, I was like, oh no, girl, you are preparing your thing. So I had prepared my thing, and oh, I remembered to bring back the contract. Just I've got it together, okay? Yes, okay. It's official. Okay, so I want to, before I start, I want to just acknowledge that I wanted to acknowledge that a friend of mine made the trip all the way from Vancouver, crossing all those bridges and stuff, and I just want to thank you for being here, Pastor B. Thank you. Just as a little background, now, just let me know, what is the usual way that people proceed? Do they read a bunch of poems and then talk a bunch, or how does it work? Yeah. Really? Okay. I wanted to give you kind of an overview of where I'm coming from, because becoming a poet laureate was really it was like just putting me into a whole new relationship with the community and with writing poetry, and it's really been kind of an amazing journey, and I wanted to share it with you, actually. I call it the poet's journey from isolation to community. So where I come from, my husband died 7 years ago in August. Then 5 months later, the entire world entered lockdown. And then in November of 2020, I moved out here from New York at the invitation of my son and his family, who were literally the only people I knew out here. But God was calling me to the Pacific Northwest, and so I packed it all up and moved out here from the east end of Long Island in the middle of the pandemic, and I have been stepping out in faith ever since. So and I learned out here, this is important, but you already know it. I learned out here that the shortest distance between 2 points is not a straight line if there's a mountain in between them. Did not know that because being from New York and raised in Monmouth County, New Jersey, I knew nothing about mountains. In fact, I didn't even think volcanoes were real. Seriously. And I was applying to be a pastor someplace, but God had other plans. And somebody suggested that I apply as Clark County Poet Laureate. So in 2024, my journey as a Poet Laureate began coincidentally with my study in poetry at Pacific. It was kind of like on-the-job training, you know? As I was new to the area and I had a lot to learn, but the people of Clark County welcomed me in that beautiful, gracious way that they do. And I was blessed. And their first question, everybody's first question always is, what is a poet laureate? What does a poet laureate do? You might think that as I enter the swan song era of my term here, and I'm going to be like phased out at the end of the year, you'd think I would have by now a concise, pithy answer to that question, probably something very witty and profound. But the best I could come up with is that a poet laureate brings poetry into the community and the community into poetry. Only how that happens is really kind of mysterious and humbling, having more to do with God than with the poet. It's an inward journey into community, leaving behind isolation or individuality and finding refuge in community. Oddly enough, the grief and the histories of trauma that might once have kept us separate are transformed through language into bridges that connect us. When my husband died, I didn't want a new life, but God called me to step out in faith. I now live down the street from my son and serve this community as a poet. I started writing poetry back in 1971, as you know, at the University of Illinois Writers Program, where women's voices were first emerging in poetry, and I know some of you probably remember that. There were people like Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath. Those were my role models. Marginalized, confessional, outsiders in a world defined by gender, unconnected with community. Suffering from substance abuse and trauma myself, I had a nervous breakdown. I thought that was like a career move, seriously. I found a rescuer, immediately did the right thing. I got married and had a child, right? But then I lost it all. And by the grace of God, I did get sober in 1981. And my writing turned toward healing, connecting with the recovery community, and finding a partner. So I was married from 1991 to 2019. And I should say, just because Kristen mentioned Michael Feinstein before, that my husband was a jazz piano player, and we did cabaret, and I sang well enough. We did cabaret for 20 years. We did the American Popular Songbook. Gershwin, Porter, Rogers, all that good stuff. But in 2016, he went on dialysis, and there was no more cabaret. I was his caregiver. Poetry kept me going as I documented our journey through the valley of the shadow of death. In 2020, which was a horrible year to get published, okay? I had 2 chapbooks published, Parting Gifts, and In Pilgrim Drag. And 6 years later, I see these books as testimony from the very, very beginning of a journey, as I was waking from isolation and discovering connections. I wanted to just spend a little bit of time with this collection from Parting Gifts. These poems were written during Poetry Month for a competition in April of 2019. And it was in the last months of my husband's decline. Everyday experiences resonated with the impending loss. The poems in this collection are very simple and direct, yet each follows the loss to come. And I just want to read a couple of them for you, because this is where I was just beginning to touch upon themes that have become very important to me since then. This is a poem called Golden Ticket. And the speaker recognizes in this poem, I'm saying it to you so that you can hear how it resonates, if it does. The speaker is recognizing for the first time how class and privilege created an illusion, that false reality of whiteness and privilege that could only be overcome by suffering and loss. And acknowledging that creates an opening. So this is Golden Ticket. Check this privilege I did nothing to deserve or earn, and am free to deny. Like it's all just razzle-dazzle, good business sense, coincidence that made my daddy so rich, my mama so good-looking, and me so rebellious in my private school uniform, a trophy girl at the yacht club in Annapolis, where we sip martinis and Manhattans at sunset, survey the harbor dappled with sailboats, served by dark-skinned waiters in white uniforms. I am ungrateful and drink too much, with no idea how much I will have to lose before I exchange the golden ticket for the hallelujah ride. Thank you. The thing about a spiritual journey is you're going toward God, but who that is or how that is, you might not know. So this is a poem called Not Another Journey. Sometimes neon signs have to be outlined in fire across the heavenly plain just so you can find something to explain. Still, you don't know whether you are leaving or arriving. You blow on the ashes, see embers raise. Still, you don't know. And this is a poem that is very self-explanatory. It's called On the First Administration of Morphine. Blue liquid shoots into a glass tube. Like Christmas lights bubble bright colors. This neon blue that comforts you. Your helper has arrived, but I cannot think of anything for the grocery list besides Duraflame logs. Your helper used to be a fire chief. We agree. Never leave a fire unattended. Fire is dangerous, even in a fireplace. Not even a candle can be left unattended, lest the family cat knock it over and the whole house be engulfed in flame. At least that can't ever happen to us. We don't have cats. A surge of neon blue quenches the fire in your arthritic spine. How is it morphine can wipe away your pain and leave me numb? Your helper has come. Thank you. I'm going to read a poem that I have read before. And if I wrote it today, I don't know if I might possibly focus more on the sense of how shopping is such a distraction from the inevitability of loss, but I don't know. Maybe it's already present. This is a poem called Welcome to Costco. And I just invite you to listen for the loss. I don't know the poem is 100% successful. You don't often hear poets admit that, but it may not be, but my hope is that you can hear the loss resonating through the poem. You did not expect to leave with an understanding of America when all you wanted was reading glasses. Instead, you travel past buffalo plaid pajamas and TV screens, diamond bracelets and toilet paper, cubes of cheese with toothpicks in them, cellophane-wrapped Easter baskets, anything anyone would ever leave home looking for and wind up finding something else. Lego sets, white orchids, which will die, even if you do place 3 ice cubes a week faithfully on their sod. A cart large enough for a family of 4, now dwarfed by a mountain of paper towels and other things you cannot live without and don't want to run out of, hoping this time it will matter what you brought home. And I'll just read one more poem from this collection because, frankly, I really like the title of this poem. And you might say, well, the title says it all, but I'll read the poem and you can decide. Waiting at the parking lot to pick up pizza at the edge of the abyss. Let me just give it to you again. Waiting in the parking lot to pick up pizza at the edge of the abyss. There are dark holes in space the size of the sun, and this might be one of them. What will I do when the pizza is ready? I will sing a lullaby and offer it up as sacrifice. But our God wishes no sacrifice, only that we give thanks even here, on the edge of the abyss, where next week I may be planning a funeral. There is something so autonomic about ordering pizza during an apocalypse, something that quickens the soul to want wild mushroom, spinach, and artichoke. Also grandma's, especially that which is stone oven baked by an Italian for Brooklyn. Symmetry, isn't it? The edge of the universe calls out for some small sign that what we love is still alive. Thank you. Thank you. So the second chapbook, and then I promise you I'm going to go off into a totally different direction, but I did want to establish that this is kind of where I came from. And then this poet laureate thing happened and all this other stuff. It's like, whoosh, it's a whole different thing. So, but this is kind of where it started, okay? So this pilgrim drag continued that journey of bereavement and loss as a pilgrimage being shared with others. And this journey begins, as so many journeys do, with a visit to the ER. I don't know if any of you have spent much time taking people you love to the ER, but it's really a thing. This is called August in the Greenport Hospital. In the ER Tuesday night, the nurse inserts a needle you hardly feel and draws 5 tubes of blood before you know it. In the next bed, knees point beneath a sheet, a skeleton draped with flesh, whose bony head lifts in our direction. An aged woman, her eyes bright beneath a monitor tracking heart rate and oxygen. I pull the faded curtains along a track around your bed and my chair, as if we might find privacy, when still we hear the monitor beep and a thin voice answer, "Hello? Hello?" Like a cat crying at a door, "Hello? Hello?" I ask the nurse to turn off the monitor, but she says the woman's over 90, a DNR. We never had dinner. By the time I go out for pizza and come back with root beer, the other cubicle is empty. The monitor is gone. We can't remember the last time we had root beer. Oh, those ERs. The pizza was always a part of the ER experience. I don't know. So grief brings communities together. The title poem of this collection, In Pilgrim Drag, commemorates a ceremony that I visited in Provincetown, Massachusetts, an annual thing they do in P-Town every year, commemorating those who died of AIDS. This is In Pilgrim Drag. Ribbons in rainbow colors strung between trees, handwritten messages for those who died of AIDS, now raised up above the stage, a shimmery festoon for a tall drag queen in towering silver crown and gloves, who gestures a sign of peace as a town crier in pilgrim drag belts out, "I know a land where dreams are born." In counterpoint to her, "Someday I'll wish upon a star." Heroes of the culture war wear drag to victory, though transgendered soldiers are prohibited from service. We stand together, disenfranchised. Muslims, children of the undocumented, those whose taxes rise as their health care diminishes, Black people disproportionately slain by police, people of color with whom we mark these festivities of grief. Thanks. So as my husband was declining, of course the grandchildren were flourishing like mad out here. During one visit that I went from Long Island and came out here, and my son asked me what Zion meant. And I couldn't put into words at the time, although since I have learned, but at the time, I Googled it. And I wrote this poem of longing for connection with home. It's called Googling Zion. It opens with an epigram from Psalm 137, verse 1. By the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. While we're driving, you ask what Zion means. This name so common out here. A church, a town, a bowling alley, where redwoods pierce the sky on the mountain across from Mount Hood in the Pacific Northwest where you live. Your son in the back seat listening as we drive to his ball game. And I promise I will Google it, but I forget. Until this morning on the east end by the Peconic Bay, I Google Zion. A small mountain in Jerusalem where the Ark of the Covenant was placed. The hill of Jerusalem on which the city of David was built. God's dwelling place. If only the history of Zion were that simple. Although at the Mount Zion bowling alley in southern Washington, it is easy to rent shoes and bowl a frame or two. where the Ark of the Covenant is placed. So if you want to find it, you have to go there. Wherever the blessed covenant dwells, sacred and apart, yet always with you. Zion, the mound where your son stands to pitch for the first time, and 2 generations watch from behind home plate. So during this time, I don't know, it's madness, but I felt called to preach. I had spent enough time in the beloved community doing projects and getting to know folks in black churches, and I felt called to preach what I had learned there, take it back to the white church and preach it there. And you know what? They don't really want to hear it. That's okay. It's okay. That's really typical if you know your Old Testament prophets. That's how prophets are generally received. Nobody wants to hear it. So I feel I'm in good company. Anyway, one congregation that I visited, which I just loved, was on the Shinnecock Reservation. And by God's grace, I was able to enter that space as an outsider. And it was particularly poignant because I was directly descended from colonialists who had stolen the land. So I was very mindful of the incredible irony of their welcoming me to preach in their church. This is a poem I wrote the first time I went there. It's called A Psalm with No Apology. For the congregation of the Shinnecock Presbyterian Church, October 21st, 2018. This morning, the big field is vacant. Sets of metal bleachers face each other, uninhabited. 2 empty cars on the far side, a sign that says, slow down. It is October, the slow time between seasons, when reverence is all I bring for the elders who meet on Wednesday at 6 p.m., for the driver of the vehicle who tails an unfamiliar car on this road toward the burial ground. I do not know who the ancestors were who trod this field, the generations who worship here between seasons after the powwow. This morning I speak from the pulpit to Native people who have invited me, beloved community, who pray for children, suffer from substance abuse, violence, and trauma. Outsiders who were here first, that we may witness and find refuge in this broken land where grandmothers in the back pews still offer stubborn prayers. I really believe that the reason the world is still turning on its axis, however well it's doing that, is because of those grandmothers. And in 2024, when I first became Clark County Poet Laureate, I went to the Portland Book Fair. I don't know, some of you are probably there, and I heard a Palestinian poet, Mossab Abu Toha, read from his book, The Forest of Noise. And I was so moved that I actually, he evokes his family life in Gaza. He was here in the States out of harm's way, but his people were there. And his neighbors back in Gaza thought since he was in America, he could do anything. And he told us that they would ask him for light bulbs. They wanted him to send them flashlights so they could look for their relatives in the rubble. But all he could offer was poetry. What good is poetry? It is witness. So after the reading, I waited in line to meet him. I'm a New Yorker, I don't like to wait in line. But I waited in line to meet him, and I promised him that I would help him carry this word of poetry as witness. So I would just like to read you 3 very short poems from this wonderful book that I hope some of you know, The Forest of Noise by Mossab Abu Toha. Just 3 short poems. This is what a Gazan mother does during an Israeli night air strike. She gathers all her kids around in her bed as one collects and packs books and clothes before leaving a hotel. She counts her kids' ears, mouths, noses, then looks into their eyes. And I swear, she smiles. She sings a night song to bury in the ground the sound of bombs, to disappear the whirring of drones back into the clouds. She hugs each child, still here, after every bomb. And if she knows a bomb is about to light up the sky and the room, she covers her kids' eyes and loudly asks, "What can you see when your eyes are closed?" hoping her trembling voice may hide the bomb's eradicating sound. And this is the title poem, Forest of Noise. A car slides on our asphalt street like an iron running on an ironing board. But in my city, streets are never flat. Potholes from bombs are everywhere, like crows' nests in a forest of noise. And finally, this is Rescue Plane. The children are always right close to his heart. This is Rescue Plane. I wish I had a rescue plane to fly over Gaza, to drop wheat flour and tea bags, tomatoes and cucumbers, to remove the rubble of the houses, to retrieve the corpses of my loved ones. I wish for a second rescue plane to drop flowers for children, the ones still alive, to plant on the graves of their parents and siblings in the streets or schoolyards. The wish behind the wish. I wish there were no planes at all. I wish there were no war. I wish we never had to wish. Mossab Abu Toha, Forest of Noise. So I became Poet Laureate just as I was returning to the MFA program at Pacific, because I needed God's help to be a prophetic witness. And God's help came in the form of my teachers, Kwame Dawes and Matem Shifra, both poets of the African diaspora from Ghana and Jamaica, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, respectively. Kwame and Matem showed me what I could not see, my cultural blindness, the consequence of being brought up in the tradition of individualism in the dominant white culture. I had a blind spot. They could see it, and I couldn't. I was writing poems about my sister, adopted at 9 months old, who had died at age 50 of illness and chronic conditions resulting from somatized trauma. I wrote about her tragic plight, as if it was all about her and nothing about me. Kwame asked, "Where are you in this poem?" It is always the first question to ask of any poem. Where are you in the poem? I learned that if I was not present, or if I were detached from involvement in what happened to her, then I was just an observer, pretending her suffering had nothing to do with me. But if I could look at myself while seeing my sister, the perspective would change from objectification to involvement. And I would like to read one poem called Birth Song. I will tell you that part of the drama around my sister is that she had been adopted in 1948 from an adoption agency in New York called Spence Chapin, which was well known to have been involved in placing indigenous children into white families. And of course, there's no way to find out whether someone was an indigenous child placed in a white family because all the records were sealed. But the thing is that, well, I'll let the poem tell you about it. This is called Birth Song for my sister Judy. It's in 4 parts. 1, her birth date might have been the one listed on the certificate with our parents' names, or maybe that was the date the adoption became legal. Or the hospital recorded she was born and taken from her mother. In that season, so many Native babies were taken at birth, far from homelands, from reservations, so many lost, displaced. We speak of this at the drumming circle where I confess I had an adopted sister I think was stolen. 2, did her mother call her Baby Helen, or did the hospital or the agency give her the name and note, quote, at 6 months, baby Helen developed an attachment with the foster father? 3, taken out of foster care and placed with my parents, who changed her name to Betsy, which she will change to Judy after years of torment, disgrace, and shame for disabilities and behaviors, symptoms and syndromes no one understood, until she fell in love with Jimmy Dorsey in rehab and got married the same year I got sober. We still weren't speaking until Jimmy died of a heart attack and I came to his memorial. We were both sober. 4, did her mother have a chance to hold her baby, look into her eyes, and give her a sacred name like Judy did when she named her baby Christine, born on Christmas Day, the day before social services took Christine away somewhere in Suffolk County, 1968. I call the agency and ask where my sister came from, but a spokesperson says, because of stigma, children of Indian blood being hard to place in white homes, all records are sealed. Yet every time I hear a drumming circle, Native voices calling all their children home, my sister's sacred name is hidden in the drums. Thank you. Now, I want to say how grateful I am to the teachers who showed me what I couldn't see. And I feel that the poets of the African diaspora bring that gift into the language of poetry. And I'd like to read, because I just got to, I'd like to read one poem from this brilliant book by my teacher, Kwame Dawes. The book is called Sturgetown, and of course I recommend it. Let me see. Against Erasure is, wait a minute. Actually, I think I'm going to read a different poem that is more, it is shorter. This is called Post Elegy. And there's a quote from Romeo Oriogan to open it. Elegies are one of the few places where we can do the work of care, not just to ourselves, but to our dead. Post Elegy. Evening, and my dead sister does not reply. She is more tutored in the language of prayer. The empty streets, the honking geese, the soft light of dusk are still my cloister. I pace, and the slow thaw of morning starts again. It's been 3 years, and my satchel overflows with news, the thickening of words cramped in my chest until the long heaviness of what's unspoken begins to untangle. The news, the confessions, the laughter, the shadow of the long silence of the plague. I live in another country. The place where her bones rest is nostalgic to me. For too long I have not visited that sun-beaten patch of earth to stand mute, then speak for want of doing something better. My morning has been starved and the gift of the chattering dead taken from me. So here I am, mouth moving, building a shrine for tomorrow, the tongues we all must speak someday soon. It helps to know this in the silence that returns and the warmth that envelops me. It is true what Oregon said, that what I long for is the gift of caring for the dying, and now the grace of caring for the dead. That's Kwame Dawes. So I think I would like to I would just like to just close with one poem and then ask if you have any questions. I wanted to read my most recent poem. You know how poets always think their most recent poem is their best, and then a few weeks later they find out, yeah, no, not really. But so anyway, this is called A Poem on July 4th, so it's only 3 days later, so I still think this is really great. However, get back to me in a while, we'll find out. This is a poem on July 4th, 2026. And it is with thanks to those who teach the blues. I have finally learned how to pronounce Mississippi. Here in the jazz club around the corner from Mississippi, the street in Portland where a Memphis saxophone teaches us the blues, how from the depths the breath wails and wails, catches itself and wheezes out again and again, that cry, that love cry from the lungs, the bottom of the soul, some call delta. Oh my, yes, this 4th of July, the blues from Memphis speaks to my heart in a language I can finally understand, the blues we all wail when our capital is paved in fakery, plundered by fools. Oh my, yes, play those blues to my heart and the wail from the depths of the lungs, the breath beneath the breath, the cry we all can hear, how it matches the heartbreak you could call Mississippi. Oh yes, oh my, yes, we could call the blues when it wails out from the bottom of our souls, as today on July 4th, when freedom isn't free, we're gonna have to wail for it. Wail and wail until everyone is free.
That was incredible. Another round of applause for Susan. Oh, come back. You're not done. Yeah.
She's the boss.
Yeah, well, not really, but So now we're going to move to a Q&A. I'm going to bring the microphone around, and the point of that is so folks who are online, watching online, can actually hear your question and not just hear the answer. Okay? So I'm going to start to give everybody a couple minutes to think. We were talking before the reading started, and I said, I realized just today what got me into poetry. I was listening to Michael Feinstein, who's the American Songbook Ambassador, and Ira Gershwin, Marilyn and Alan Bergman, and I was listening to the lyrics, and I was like, oh, I think this is why I got into it, because it was the lyrics I was so transfixed by, and that I'm still so moved by. And so my question for you is, what got you into poetry?
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I'm here to help.
I don't know. That's really hard. I don't know if it was like teenage heartbreak. May have had something to do with it. Yeah, E. Cummings had a lot to do with it. Remember E. Cummings? Oh my God. Who knows if the moon's a balloon? Yeah, all the beautiful stuff. And but I hated poetry in 10th grade. And I made the mistake of telling my English teacher that I hated poetry. So naturally, she invited me to stay after class. And we went through some poems, a couple by Edgar Allan Poe, and then some poems by Keats and Shelley. And she took me through the poems almost syllable by syllable until I could hear the music. And I was hooked.
Ah.
And yeah. And then, of course, songs. And I'll just, since you mentioned Michael Feinstein and Gershwin, I'll just quote a little bit of a verse from Gershwin. This is a song this is my husband and my song. The more I read the paper, the less I comprehend the world and all its capers and how it all will end. Nothing seems to be lasting, but that isn't our affair. We've got something permanent. I mean, in the way we care. And then the song lyric is, it's very clear, our love is here to stay. Yeah. So it's kind of all that.
Yeah.
And then plus which, poetry would be this like secret way that you could write about stuff and other people wouldn't understand it. There was that.
I love it. That's great. Any questions? Because I know if anyone, oh, okay, yeah.
Hello, my name is Stephanie, and I write poetry. I haven't have it been published yet, but I hope to someday, soon. I'm 54 years old, and I've been writing poetry since first grade. It was the first time I was exposed to poetry. And then later on, I was exposed to poetry again in 3rd grade. But then I began to write poetry, serious poetry, really in my high school years. How do you get the courage to submit your poetry to a publisher?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you. I think anybody who says that that's easy is lying. Okay, for years I had what I call the Emily Dickinson marketing program. You'll appreciate this. My program was that I was not going to send anything out, but after I was dead, people would discover it, and then I would be famous. This does not work. But let me tell you that what does work is that a lot of people who write poetry feel that same way. It's intimidating to send things out. So what I suggest that you do is find some other poets who are also at that place, and then together you can discover places to send work out. You can encourage each other in doing it. And that's the whole thing. It's about the community, you know? And that's what I learned at Pacific. Like, there's all these poets, And they're continuously encouraging each other to do different things because we need the encouragement. The world is not out there waiting for poetry. Like, we need some poetry right now. They do need it, but we have to make sure we get it to them, and that's all you're doing. You're looking for a reader when you send out a poem. And I just encourage you to just do it. You know? Just do it. Yeah. Yeah, you can send me a poem. Send me a poem, okay? To give yourself a little practice. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it. But I think that's how we all do it. We need each other. We need each other for support. I'm sure there are plenty of people in this room who will talk to you about what things they've tried, you know? Because that's how we do it together. Any other questions?
The question that Tom always asks is, who inspires you and who are you reading right now?
Kwame, Matem, Mossab, I brought them to the party.
Aw.
And I brought them to the party because, and I am particularly inspired by all the poets of the African diaspora. I feel that poets who are, and one of them is in the room. Thank you for coming, Emmett.
Emmett.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. But I feel that poets who have had to confront the dislocation and racism and all those things are people who are vividly connected in community with other people. And to me, like, that is so rich. Family, ancestors, all of those things that I personally, how I was brought up was like, you're just, there you are, self-reliant, you're out there, this individual. And there wasn't that sense of connection. So did I answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
To what degree does the feminine play into your poetics and the feminine from a prophetic standpoint?
You would ask me that, wouldn't you? Dang. I just want to say that I have a fulfillment of a lifelong dream this evening. I have always wanted to be able to introduce Emmett to my friend, Pastor B, and here they are in the same room. I didn't do a thing. Woo! God is good. Okay, the feminine. All right. Like,
Love.
The feminine. I come from a tradition of whiteness where the feminine is devalued. It is weak. It is a victim. It is a hood ornament. I was raised to be a hood ornament, to play a role. Now, in other cultures, particularly in cultures of people of color, the feminine has a place of honor. Women are strong and have power. And I didn't grow up with that. So I grew up with, and I don't know, I wonder if any of you heard this too. The greatest compliment you could get when I was in college was if somebody told you you had a mind like a man. Anybody get that? Like in philosophy class, you know, women couldn't do philosophy because they had these mushy minds, but men had minds that were thoughtful and all that kind of stuff. So naturally, that's what I aspired to. So I have the mind of a man, frankly. I have the mind of a man, and I have a femininity is like, it's a very mysterious thing to me. It really is. And I don't know if there is a party line for that, but I don't have it, whatever it is. I kind of identify as like being somewhere in a spectrum of queer, where I have the masculine and feminine attributes within me. So it's hard for me to like what do you call it? Make it binary. So thanks for that question, Emmett. I love you. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, try for something more difficult than that. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yes, okay, yes, you got, this is going to be the one.
It seems that you have a strong sense of empathy,
Yeah.
and I want to know where that came from. If it was like when you were
It
little and growing
it
up.
came from having to rescue my family as a child and be the therapist for my entire family when I was 10. Yeah, that is a story. And so it was like my first day of social work school, our professor said, "You are the people who have been taking care of other people all your life, and you finally decided it's time to get paid for it." So that is how I became a therapist. Yeah. But yeah, I think that empathy is like, it's like I connected with liberation, to be able to be free of whatever we imagine separates us. Do you know, does that make sense? Ish? Oh, well. But thanks for the question.
I've been recognizing it, or trying to recognize it more and more, probably the last 20 years. But when you try to recognize it, you find that it's really within you how to recognize it.
I think it's a gift from God. I think that's what it is. It's a gift. It's not something that you like self-help, do something or whatever. I think it's just a gift from God that we get.
I grew up on a farm, I had empathy for animals. So my parents didn't like that a whole lot.
Wow. Was it any of that, like the animals have to get killed on your farm? Oh, wow. No, it could be a dairy farm, in which case they wouldn't have to get killed, but wow, yeah. Actually, I have a poem about that. It's in my thesis. Anybody else?
yep, we have a question right here.
Oh, good.
In writing poetry, do you find it's therapeutic for yourself?
Well, that's a sort of double-edged question. Like, writing can be very therapeutic, right? And so I'm always writing stuff. I even write on my phone. I'm like writing all the time, a complete nerd. But I don't know how to answer the question, because like writing becomes therapeutic when you've written this thing and you step apart from it and you look at it as a thing that could have a benefit to someone else. And sometimes you have to take out some of your personal stuff so that you leave room for others. So it becomes an act of therapy that you're creating, like it's a created work that someone else can come to it, and perhaps they will find in reading it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not just like, I know some poets like just write these really like cathartic things that it really helps them to get it all out there. But if you're listening to it, it doesn't do beans for you. And that's because the writer hasn't gone to the next level with it, which is to make sure, it's like hollowing out an apple or something. Like you hollow it out so that there's room for someone else to put their stuff in it.
So
Yeah.
when the feedback, and when the feedback you get, when someone says, "Oh, I read that poem, and oh my gosh, it really touched me," or something, that can be uplifting to yourself.
Yeah, that it is like, it is wonderful. It is the most wonderful thing. Yeah. Any other questions?
Would you like to read the broadside now?
Okie doke.
Wonderful.
I will do that. Okay. I will just give you a a little, the backstory it should all be in the poem, actually. So I'm not going to tell you anything. Okay. This is Monday morning at the Vietnam War Memorial. Along the grass slope, a triangle crops out, a black granite slab with one or two names carved in block letters. Then small panels carved with a few more. The first casualties of a war never declared, far away on the other side of the earth, hidden until it could no longer be hidden. Names carved in granite rise along the wall. Names and nicknames, rows and columns, overflowing panels that bend at a corner, names so far above us we cannot decipher them, skeletal outlines above our silhouettes reflecting in the shining wall, and there is nothing we can do but try to read them. Until my friend, a veteran, seeing a name stained by grime, stops, takes out a tissue, and wipes each letter until the name is clear. And now I too notice a name smeared with dirt, and I too stop and wipe the letters clean with a tissue wet by my spit. Small acts of mourning as we move more slowly along this memorial wall. Monday morning, 2 old women, one black, one white, tending to the names of those who died unseen, as snow is falling in the capital and bombs and missiles are falling somewhere in Iran. Guys, this has been really one of the most wonderful experiences that I've had. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful listening. What a gift. Thank you so much.
All right, friends. Susan has books for sale right over on the table. And just because this is something that Tom always says, and I'm constantly moved by it, we're all so busy in our lives, and there's so much going on, and there's so much to do. How wonderful it all is that we took a pause, we took a beat to share this evening together and enjoy poetry. So thank you so much. Well, that's a wrap on season 19 for the Milwaukie Poetry Series. Yeah. Thank you for coming.